Hello, welcome to another Medieval Dynasty survival guide. Today we're going to be talking about villager happiness and basically how to boost their mood because the mood of your villagers is actually very important. The happier that they are, the more items they produce in a given amount of time, which is important for you because if they're producing more, then you're getting more and you can sell more and you can pay your taxes and be rich and live a happy life, right? But the opposite of that is that if they are unhappy and they actually end up reaching, like, I think it's like a negative 100 mood or something, I'm pretty sure, they will actually leave your village. And that sucks because, if you have like a decent amount of villagers who are like high level and they all leave, then you suddenly have to, replace those, and they're starting at like the basic level one with their skills, which means they're not producing as much as the high skilled workers. So that just means less production, which just it just sucks in general. So keeping your villagers happy is pretty important, and that's basically what we're going to go over: the different variables that you can control that makes them happy. And just to keep in mind, there are a few variables that you don't exactly have control over. So, basically making the most of the variables that you can control, is great because you could get them as high as possible, basically. So, one of the first kind of like big factors is having a house for them. If they do not have a house, they are not going to be happy. And I kind of ran into this problem when I was first playing this game. I invited like a bunch of people, and they were all really like sad very, very quickly because I didn't have a house for them. And I think I invited them during winter too, so they were like freezing and everything. It was just terrible. And I couldn't build the house fast enough for them all to have a home. So a lot of them left me, which was just really sad and depressing. So having a house is one of the main factors that will keep them happy, and that's because they use the house to get access to food and water and their firewood. And the size of the house doesn't exactly matter. Like, it doesn't impact their mood. It does lead to other things, which I'll go into, but the actual size does not matter. So, like, just starting out, you can just use like the simple small house, and they'll be pretty happy. Uh, Speaking of food and water, they also need that to be happy. Obviously, if they're not eating or drinking, they're dying, really. So, it makes sense. So having food and water for them to access will make them happy. If they don't have it, they will leave, absolutely. And the firewood actually is a another factor. They use it to keep warm, and you can make firewood very easily with your little lumberjack person over here. And the interesting thing about firewood is that even if you run out, they will actually use some of your resources in place of firewood. They'll start with sticks, and then they'll go to logs and planks. So like if you don't have firewood, like you run out, it's not the end of the world just yet, as long as you have those other ones. But obviously, they're eating into your resources. So like making firewood and having a good supply of it is pretty important. That's actually why I have two of these guys, just because I wasn't making quite enough for my needs. So make sure you have plenty of firewood, and that will keep them happy as well. Another kind of like factor to keep in mind is actually the insulation of the houses. As you guys can see here, I have the lime insulation, which is basically like the top tier insulation, and that makes them actually the happiest. If you have like wattle walls, you can use, which is like this little material here. You can use daub to insulate the walls, which will give them a boost too, but it doesn't give quite as much as the stone walls. And that is because while the size of the house doesn't like directly impact their mood, the material of the house does. So having like the top tier materials to build their house is going to make them happy. And that means stone walls and wooden tile roofs. And if you don't know how to switch between the different materials, basically, excuse you, he's got the COVID. You basically take out your hammer, and when you are in the process of building the house, you will have a little, like an option here to switch between, like the different materials, but also like the different structures. So like if you want, you can make this window go away and just put like a blank wall here instead if you want. So basically you do that, and then you switch from wattles to stone, and it'll become a stone wall, and you just put stone in, and then boom, there it is. And then when you're ready to insulate it, you just, use your little hammer, add insulation, have the limestone on you, and then you just start hammering away, and that'll add the insulation. So that's how you do that. And once you have this like fully insulated, you actually will get a 50% mood boost from that. And that's pretty amazing. Like, that's pretty awesome. So, just fully insulate it, make your stone buildings as much as you can, as quickly as you can, get your wooden tile roofs and insulate it. And you'll see like a pretty significant boost in their mood just from that alone, which is awesome. So the other kind of like little factor is decorations, and I haven't quite gotten into this just yet. I haven't had the opportunity to do so, but you can actually like add decorations to this, which I don't know if you put build here. Maybe you can kind of like I'll probably have to like destroy some of these walls to be honest to do it, but basically when you're building walls, you have like an option to add decorations, unless I can see a blank wall. Yeah, I don't think so. So, there's like different like little things you could do. You could like do little shelves. A lot of it's kind of like hanging stuff basically on the walls, and those little decorations make them happy too. In fact, I think it's if you put, I think it's like 10 or so decorations on the walls and whatnot, you get like a 10% boost from that, and it doesn't go higher. There's like a cap on it, so. Don't go too crazy, wasting your resources because you're not going to get anything back. Unless you just want to make it pretty, which, go for it, right? So, do some decorations. That'll make them happy, too. The choice of their profession also gives them a boost. And, worker profession is very important because, if you don't give a worker something related to their skills, for one, they're not going to produce as much, but they're also not going to be happy. And how this works is that they get a 2% mood boost for every skill that they have in their profession for that job. So, and there's a cap on that as well. It doesn't go higher than 20%, which makes sense because they can reach like level 10, right? So, 2 times 10, 20, there you go. So you can potentially get up to 20% on these guys. And I think that's not the button. They're all very unhappy because we just came out of like a little special event. But our 3ers, our 7ers over here, he's special, or she's special rather. But she'd be getting like 14% mood boost from her profession. So, making sure that you guys have the right worker for the right job is really important because, that impacts their mood. So, get them in the right job, right? The other kind of like big factor I would say is whether they have a family or not, and this is where the size of the house kind of matters. The simple small house, I believe, might have like 1 extra bed. It's been a while since I've had one, so I don't really remember. But it doesn't have 2 beds, and your villagers can have 2 children, whereas you can only have 1, I believe. So they need 2 beds, which means usually they need something a little bit better than like the most basic house. This one, for example, is the no, I actually need to go here, don't I? I do. Is just the simple house. I don't even have like the full house unlocked. I just have this one, and you can see it has 2 beds in here, so they can have their 2 children, which makes them happy. And that's honestly it. Like, having a family is what makes them happy. Basically, they get a boost of like when they're married, they get like a 10% boost, and then each child is basically 5% each. So if they get 2 children, that's another 10% boost right there, basically. So marriage is good. Having children also good. That'll make them very happy. Now, finally, those are kind of like the things that you can control. There are a few things that are kind of in your control, kind of out of your control. One of them is like the king that you have, and you can see who your king is. If you go to the map, you'll see your king right here. Mine's Herman First the Lion, and I don't really know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think he might be neutral, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Oh no, it's like this is right. Never mind. It's right here. He's good apparently. The the king who you have also kind of uh, determines your villager happiness, and that has to do with the challenges. So like it's a little bit weird how they do it, but if you have a good king and you complete his challenges, that will boost your villager's mood. Whereas if you have like a king who's bad, who's like cruel, and you do his challenges, that will actually decrease your villager's mood because like you're helping out like this bad guy basically, and they don't like that. So and then there's also like neutral kings, which I don't know if this is neutral or what. I don't like that that's -2%. That makes me really scared. But if he's neutral and you do challenges for him, it doesn't impact your villagers either way, which could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're using those challenges for. Um, so keep that in mind. If you have a bad king, maybe don't do the herald's challenges until the king like dies and you get a new one. Just because that you could be like accidentally impacting your villager's mood without even realizing it, thinking you're like doing like great stuff because you're completing stuff and whatnot. Like you'll still get like I think you'll still get your taxes reduced, but your villagers aren't happy, so like they're not producing as much. So it's like kind of like is it worth it, right? So keep that in mind. Also, there are like seasonal events, like now and then when you go to sleep and you wake up and it's a new season, there is a chance for a new season to like an event to occur. And sometimes that can impact your villager's mood too, depending on what choice you make, which is kind of fun because it's like, there's a little bit of very like a choice in there, like your choice matters, right? Which is kind of fun for me anyway. So being mindful of your choices is rather important, and obviously some of the skills that you have developed can potentially lead to more positive outcomes. So like diplomacy tends to be rather important, like hunting and survival. I think I've had a few times too that have mattered before with those choices. So that kind of helps too, and I believe there is a skill that can kind of help with that as well. Probably diplomacy. Let's see here. That's not the one. This one could certainly help too, just in terms of things. There we go. Good host is a really good one to have because that just makes, it says right here, 10% slower mood reduction. So, if there is anything that is impacting your villagers, having that skill can just kind of like give you a bit of a cushion on how much that actually impacts them. So those are like little things that you can do to help. But basically, that's about it for villager moods. So keep them happy, and they will reward you in turn. So hopefully you found that helpful. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one. But until then, keep surviving and keep thriving.